Hey, this is Timo from onlinebuilderguy.com, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to create a very simple pop-up which has an opt-in form, and then I will hook up this pop-up to an MailChimp email list. So let's get started. So first of all, you will have to create your pop-up. So how do you do that? Well, once you have logged into your WordPress dashboard, go to templates and choose pop-ups, and here click add new pop-up button, and you have some basic settings to choose from. Make sure that the pop-up is actually selected here and enter a name for your pop-up like this, test pop-up, and click create template. Okay, so what happens next is that then you can choose from different templates. You have a lot of them that you can choose from, but for this demonstration, let me just pick this particular one, and I will click insert. And here I will keep most of these settings as they are, but I'm doing some slight design changes to this pop-up. So in particular, what I'm going to do is that instead of having these two form fields, name and phone, I'm going to remove the phone field, and I'm going to rename the name field to be an email field, because this is going to be an opt-in form which is displayed inside a pop-up, and when a visitor comes to your website, he or she will enter his or her email address on this pop-up form. So we are going to do these small tweaks to this existing form, and obviously you can create the pop-up the way you want to. You can do your own designs, you can make your own changes, but I just wanted to keep this demonstration very simple and straightforward. So we are only going to do this one minor change to this design. So how do I do that? Well, let me just activate the form, and what you will notice is that here on the left you have the form fields section displayed, and here you can basically get rid of the fields that you do not like to keep on your opt-in form. So let me just remove the phone. So I will only have the one field left here, but currently it's called name, or at least the placeholder text for this field is name. So I will change that, and I will make some other tweaks to this particular form. So let me just click the name word here on the left, and I will then access these different properties related to this particular field. The first change that I'm about to do is that the type is going to be email, because it reflects much better to what this particular field is all about. And also there are certain validation rules that come into play. Like for instance, if I try to submit this particular form, there are some rules saying that since this is an email field, you will need to have at least the @ sign on the field. Um, Obviously, the validation is not necessarily 100% bulletproof, because there are a lot of different emails that you can enter, and writing a very comprehensive rules that validates all the different combinations, all the different email types there is. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but it's very difficult to do, but at least some basic checks are made here. So the type is email, the label is also going to be email, and you can naturally change these the way you would like. Also the placeholder is going to be email. I'm not quite sure if the label is actually it's not actually shown here, but for the simplicity's sake, let's keep all these values the same. And here I can also choose whether I want to have this particular field as required or not. It actually makes sense to make this field as required, because otherwise someone could just come into your website, see the pop-up form or the opt-in form and just click the submit or the send button without entering any values. So you want to make sure that this particular setting is set. So let me just click required and it's turned on. So next what we have here is that you have advanced options, and make sure that in this particular case, since we modified the existing form, that this ID field has a value. You can enter whatever type of value you would like to. Form, let me just put it like this, form field ID just came up with something, you can decide whatever ID you want to have in this particular field. It's actually required so that your opt-in works when you are hooking up this particular pop-up opt-in to your MailChimp email list. Okay, and oh, by the way, here you can see that the label setting is turned off, which makes sense in this particular case because you already have the email placeholder text telling the visitor that indeed this is a form field for an email address. So you do not have to set the label separately as what we did here already. I might just as well clear this field. But anyways, this is the advanced setting. Let's see if there is anything else here. Nope. So what else you have here? You can set some settings related to the submit button, the text, the size, the alignment, all these other things. You can set an icon to that button if you want to. But what's very important here is that the actions after submit basically defines what happens after your visitor submits this form. So what I will do first, when I click this arrow, I will remove the email setting, and instead I add the MailChimp, and I also add just scroll down a little bit, the pop-up setting. And what you will notice is that these sections under actions after submit are changed. In other words, you have the MailChimp section and you will also have the pop-up section. Now, what do you actually do with these sections? Well, I will take a look at these sections, at least the MailChimp section, a little bit closer later in this video, but it's basically the place where you define how you want to hook up, on which particular email list you want to hook up your opt-in form with. But instead, let's take a look at the pop-up section here, because this is very important. Here you define what will happen after the user or the visitor has submitted the form. So the action setting should be set to close. So what this means is that once you have entered an email address to this form field, this pop-up closes. And it's a great user experience practice, so you should definitely choose close pop-up value here. But anyways, we are going to take a look at the MailChimp section later in this video, so I will get back to this later. Then you will also have additional options, but I'm not actually going to pay any attention to these settings. Well, obviously, if you want to change any custom messages, you can do that. By default, in this particular case, when the user has submitted a form, he or she will see a success message, but I'm not going to tweak these messages any further. And in fact, I'm not even sure if the success message is shown, since the pop-up is going to be closed anyways after the user has submitted a form. But anyways, this is the place. If you see any text like the form was sent successfully, you can basically clear this text when you turn on the custom settings. So this is basically what you do with the custom settings or the custom messages section here. Okay, you have pretty much edited the form. All the settings are set, and now it's time to publish this particular opt-in or this particular pop-up. So you will have to click the publish button here, and what will happen is that you will then go through a wizard where you define different conditions, different triggers, different rules related to your pop-up. So let's start with the conditions first. So let me click the add condition button, and this is basically where you define where you want to display your pop-up. Currently the entire site is selected. You can also set some other settings here, but for the simplicity's sake, let me just keep the entire site setting. It basically means that it doesn't matter where on the website the visitor currently is. The pop-up is basically displayed on any page on your website. That's basically what it means. Let me click next, and here I can set some triggers. So these pop-ups, how they are displayed, can be triggered based on an action. So for instance, you could say, and you can do this with any of these settings here, that on page load, when I click this button here, I can set some values. So for instance, let's say that within 3 seconds during the page load, this pop-up is displayed to the visitor. And you have plenty of other settings that you can turn on or off. I'm not going to go through each one of them, but just wanted to show you that you have plenty of settings that you can define how your pop-up behaves. And then click next, and here you have some advanced rules. Once again, you can turn these rules on and off. You can set various settings how your pop-up behaves. Now, for instance, let's say that, let me turn these others off. Let's say that I do not want to display this pop-up on mobile devices. So what I will do is that I click this little cross icon here, and this particular pop-up is only displayed on tablet and desktop devices. And let me click save and close. And now I have my pop-up. I can obviously have a preview of this pop-up, and when I take a look at the preview, you will see that within 3 seconds this particular pop-up is going to be displayed. And that's the way it behaves right now. So at least this part of the setup is working. Now, what we will do next is that we are going to define an email list where we are going to connect this particular pop-up to. So how do you do that? So first of all, in this demonstration, I'm showing you how to hook up your pop-up to a MailChimp email list. And what you want to do first is that you create your MailChimp account, and then once you have done that, log into your account, and what you will have to do is that you will have to create an email list. So when you have chosen audience here at the top, and then you can see a list of audiences here on the drop-down list. And let me just click View Audiences. And I can create a new audience. And once again, I can click Create Audience again. And here I can define the name for my email list, or the audience as the MailChimp calls it. Now, here are some personal information that I'm not going to share with you, but let me just enter a couple of important pieces of information first, and then I will just pause the video for a couple of seconds. And you can obviously then enter your own information when you are creating an email list. But for the audience name, let's just say that my email list is going to be OBG 2019. Default from address is going to be onlinebuilderguy@gmail.com, and default from name is going to be onlinebuilderguy, and it's actually mandatory to define why the visitor is actually on your email list. So write a short reminder about how the recipient joined your audience. Now, let me enter something out of my head. You wanted to get the latest blog post information from Online Builder Guy, something like that. And like I told you that after this section you have some personal information. I do not want to share my information on this video, but let me just pause the video for a couple of seconds, and once I have completed this form, I will get back to you. Okay, great. So I have created this new email list called OPG 2019. Now, what happens next is that you have created a new email list, but the next step is to actually connect your opt-in to this particular email list. So how do you do that? Well, when you create an account with MailChimp, you get something called an API key, which is an identifier for your MailChimp account. And you basically need to copy the API key that MailChimp provides and then enter this information on Elementor's settings. So where you actually find this particular API key. So let me go to content. Sorry, I was wrong. Let me actually go to account, and let me go to extras, and here I have API keys. And as you can see here, as you can see at the bottom, you have the API key listed here. So I can just copy this particular API key, and then I will have to go back to my Elementor's settings to actually attach this API key. So let me just go back to the dashboard and Elementor. Here I will go to Elementor and then to settings. And here, when you click the integrations tab, and when you scroll down a little bit, you have MailChimp section here. And this is the form field where you copy your API key that's on your MailChimp account. And once you have copied the key, click the Validate API key button. It basically validates that this API key is valid, but there really shouldn't be any issues with that. And once you have validated the API key, make sure to click Save Changes. So this way your API key is actually configured with your Elementor Pro. It's as simple as that. Now, the final part of this video is to actually connect the Elementor Popup to this new email list that we created. So what I will do next is that I will go to let me just go back to let me just log in and go back to templates and pop-ups, and here I will click edit with Elementor, and I will have to activate this particular form field, which in my case is email. And here, actions after submit, if you remember that one of the selections that we did here was MailChimp, and because of that we have the MailChimp section here. So let me just open that. The API key setting should be set as default, but here on the list section, click the arrow pointing down, and you should see your new email list, OPT 2019. Choose that one and click update. Now, to make sure that everything is actually set correctly, make sure that you map the form field that's on your opt-in form to your MailChimp account. So in this particular case, in the field mapping section, the email field should be mapped to. Actually, it's funny, it's showing me the field number 1, but I'm guessing that the field number 1 is basically the name of this email field, so that's why it's showing me this particular value. But let me just click update, and let me just make sure that when I go to form fields and yeah, this is the item number 1. So you will basically have to map this field with your MailChimp, and since for some reason the name of this field is item number 1, so that's why it's actually showing me this field number 1 here on the field mapping section. But everything should be okay. Let me just try something before we proceed. If I put the label name as email, what will happen here? Let's see. Email and click update. And now when I go to actions, the MailChimp section, yes, so this particular funny looking field name was changed to email. So I will have to withdraw some of the information that I told you earlier. I mentioned that you shouldn't set the label, but actually it's actually very handy to set the label text here. So make sure that this particular section has the email, for instance, the email text, because it makes this setting here, when you map these fields together, it makes the setting maybe a little bit easier for you to understand how to map the fields. So in this case, the email is mapped to the email value here, and it refers to this particular email field. Hopefully that it didn't sound too confusing, but you will learn new stuff all the time, so hopefully it makes sense. Okay, so you have now linked your opt-in form to this particular email list, and let me just click update like this. And now it's time for the demonstration. So let me just go back to let me go to my website, my demo website, and I will see that new pop-up. Let me enter my email. Like this, and click send. Oh yeah, so as you could see very briefly that you saw the text, the form was sent successfully, but I showed you how to turn it off, so it's a very simple thing to do. But right now what happened was that I submitted this particular opt-in, this pop-up form, and right now when I go to my MailChimp account, audience, and then I have this new email list selected, and when I click view contacts, there we have this email address that I entered on the opt-in form that was inside the pop-up. So this setup works. So this is how you basically hook up a pop-up opt-in form to your to your MailChimp email list. And the way you created the pop-up was by using the Elementor Pro. Okay, this was a lengthy video, I admit that, but I hope that it made sense to you. It's actually a very simple process. You probably have to do this a couple of times, but there is also a written tutorial on this very same topic that you can follow on my website, and I have also included a link on the description that's under this video, but you will find a link to this written tutorial there. And I truly hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will get back to you with another video very soon. Bye bye.